Oh, okay, doctor. Thank you so much. So now, speaking of what interests you, now can we talk
Yeah.
about choosing the right research topic? What do you think people should consider, like graduate students should consider when they are choosing topic for their thesis?
Oh, like the first of all, like what I just said at the beginning, I'm driven by my interests. I'm doing what I'm doing because I love what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
if you want to, if actually before you start your graduate studies, what you should understand is that does the course that you're going to offer fit your career goals? So if you take up any course or any program, you should understand that that, that course is going to fit into your career goals.
Sure.
So that will also, so with that, when you are when you are deciding on a research topic, you have to also make sure that whatever topic that you are considering also will fit your career goals. Because at the end of the day, after school, that topic that you work doing your PhD, you work on doing your PhD time, it will be an area where you have a lot of your expertise. Because you have spent 3 or 4 years working in a particular area. So what it means is that you have to make sure that whatever they are going to decide on, it fits your career goal. But the major thing is that you should have interest. Then what you have to understand is that before you consider any research topics, you have to also look at how relevant it is. Because once you are able to identify your interest in a particular in your research your study area, if you identify a research field that your interest, then you have to make sure that whatever that you want to your niche, whatever that you want to settle on, also is relevant. So you don't go and take up any topic that you think that isn't relevant. In this case, the topic that you are going to take should be timely significant. Hence, that's what we mean by being relevant. So it's something that is up to date, and also something important in that at the time that you are carrying out that research. Because you might be taking up a research topic, and that research topic is out of date. And people might ask, well, how relevant is this? Because there are certain studies as at now, if you take up those topics, they are not relevant as at now. The area has already been exhausted with numerous research findings. So you have to make sure that the area that you are settling on is relevant. Then also, you also have to ensure that whatever that you want to do, there's a required data. So you look at how feasible the topic is. How can you carry out that study? And for you to be able to carry out the study, then you should be assured that you have access to data. So when people tell me about their research topics, what I normally ask them is that, do you have data? If that is when it has to do with primary, you are going to use a secondary data. If it's going to involve primary data, I have to ask you, how are you going to collect your data? And when it has to do with primary data, there are certain instances you also have to also consider ethical issues. So in deciding on your topic, you have to look at ethical consideration, relevance of your topic. Then you have to look at your interests, whether it fits your career goal, okay? Then also you have to look at how manageable is your topic, because there are certain topics you can just take up a topic and that topic you can manage it. When we talk about management, can you carry out that study within a particular period of time? So you have to make sure your scope of study is well defined so that you can manage that particular topic and be successful. Then also you have to, upon what I've said, I just said the last one is the major one. See, even if considering all these factors, the major factor you need to consider is that how novel is your area that you want to, the issue that you want to address. Because you might settle on all these things that I'm talking about, we can get the data, you can do this. But you have to also ensure that the topic that you are taking is what? It's novel, it's unique. So looking at the uniqueness of your topic is where you'll be able to what? Then decide, oh, this is the right topic for me. When we talk about novelty. In this case, we are talking about knowledge and research gap, or the knowledge gap, okay, or research gap. So how will you identify the research gap? Because once you're able to identify this research gap, you'll be able to what? Set on a topic. So there are so many approaches you can use in acknowledging the research gap so that you'll be able to what? Come up with a topic. Okay? Because after you have considered all these factors, the previous factors that I told you, the gap or the novelty of your study is the major issue here. So you have to be able to identify this research gap so you can go ahead with your work. So what you need to understand is that there are so many ways you can use in identifying the research gap, because this gap is what the justification for you to carry out your study. If you're unable to identify such a gap, then there's no need for you to go on with your work. So I would like to touch on how you can identify this research gap. Okay. If you want to, there are so many ways, but I'll touch on a couple of them. But that's the major factors you need to consider. Because if you take a topic and you're not able to identify the gap, why it is important for you to carry out that research study, there's no need for it. It means that whatever that you are worrying about, it has already been carried out. So what you need to do is that you have to do initial literature review. Okay. So let's say you are a master's student, you are interested in a particular area. So once you're able to identify that area that you want to research, the domain, so the problem domain, then what you do is that you begin to get some related research that has already been done on that area. You have to download all those research. Then what you do that you do a quick initial review. So you look at what has been done in that area. So once you're going through that previous studies related to your current area that you have identified, what you have to understand is that you have to ask questions. So once you are doing the initial review, you ask, oh, if this person carry out this research this way, why don't I do it this way? So what you have to do is that once you are reading people's papers, initially, you are not going into the literature review session, but you are just trying to abreast yourself with existing information regarding the area that you are interested in and you want to research into. So here you do just start initial this thing. Once you're going through those literatures, you ask questions. So when you take up the person's paper and you are reading, you have to try and identify an issue with it. Ask questions. If the person did this work, why don't I do this way? Maybe you might have a problem with the method that he used. So if you have problems with the method that he used, then it means that once you come up with a topic which is quite similar to that, the novelty or uniqueness will dwell on what? Your methodology that you are going to use. Okay. Or once you are reading the literature, you identify that most studies actually use a small sample size. So what in this case, for the novelty here, or what should be done is that you should what? Use you should use a larger what? Sample size. Your data size need to be large because the previous studies have used what? Smaller sample size. So you have to use that might be a gap in literature. Then also you can also look at specific problem that actually exist in your field and try to address them. So it means that in your field, you have identified a certain problem and you want to look at how that problem, whether that problem somebody has addressed it or not. And then you will what? Consider what? Addressing it. The next, the last, I think I've mentioned 3 here. The 4th one here is that you can also look at the controversy regarding a particular issue in your field. So let's say there's a particular issue that you want to talk about, but there's a misconclusion. Okay, there's a misconclusion. So there's no a consensus regarding the findings. So you would then want to say that since there's no conclusion on this one, you are also going to use a different approach to address the same issue. You understand? So you have to come from somewhere. That's what you have to understand. So once you're able to, let's look at, okay, I've mentioned let's look at another way that you can also address, identify your research gap. You can also, once you are going through this initial literature, conducting the initial literature review, you can also look at the problems. What are the problems that major, the papers that you are reviewing, what are the major problems that all of them seem to address? So those ones will be the old problem, you understand? That one will be the old problem. So you go through all the literature and look at all these papers that you are going through. What are the major concerns that they are trying to address? So you classify them as what? Old problems. Then after that, you also what? Come up with what? A new problem. So once you have been able to classify those problems that you have reviewed in the literature, then you come out with what? A new problem. Then that new problem, you also have to what? Look at, go through the literature and also see whether what you came up with, whether that has a study on it. So it might be that problem, the new problem that you have come up with, there are no enough studies on it. If even there are, it is limited. Or if even there are studies on the new problem that you have identified, there is not work on it in that area or country that you want to conduct your study on. So now you've been able to conduct you have been able to identify a research gap. You understand? Then also, in going through the literature, you also look at the method they use. So you will look at all their method they are using or they've used in the previous study. Then you look at that same problem that they have addressed using those old methods. What are the new methods that to you as a researcher you can use to address that same problem? So in this case, your novelty is rather coming from what? The methodology. You understand? Or you can combine the new problem with a new what? Method. And that means your work becomes even more novel. Because here you are considering a problem which has not been well addressed. You see, what you have to understand is that when you go through the literature and you realize that the issue that you are addressing, there's not much research studied on it, then it means that it has not been explored enough. So you're also going to do exploratory study. So you also come up with new method and other way to address that same problem. So you coming up with a new method in addressing that new method is also what? A novelty. So you have to see, the thing might be that the same problem, you are looking at it differently. You understand it? So this is ways with which you'll be able to what? Identify your problem domain. So once you've been able to identify the gap, then you go ahead and what? Then choose your topic, because now you have basis for conducting that particular study. I think I've answered. I think I've addressed that process of identifying, like choosing a research topic, because it's a whole process, and you have to go through. Another way you can also do is that okay, we can consider all these ways that I told you, but another way is that you can also consult your professor. Okay, you can consult your professor and ask him that, Prof, what are the current issues that your research team are addressing, or what are the current research area that you would like to conduct a research on? So what you have to do is that the professor has to also propose a topic for you. That's very instant, easy, but I think that sometimes the professors might suggest topics to you that you might not find it interesting, or you don't have the capability or the interest in working with that particular topic. That's another easy. But if you want to do something that you are interested in, and let's say the whole of your two years or your three years left, you are going to go through that process, then you should do something that is of interest and that is feasible, is relevant, and all those things that I told you. You have to go through all of them. Then you identify your problem. You settle on the research topic. Is there any question?
I think you've spoken a lot on this for some clarity. So the first one is, when we are choosing a research topic, we should look at the relevance of the topic, whether it is still relevant.
Yeah, is it relevant to your field of study?
Is it relevant to your field?
And also, you also have to look at how it fits well with your career goals, or how does it fit with your career goals. You also have to consider your interests. You see, it should be something that you are interested about. Then also, you have to also look at how feasible that study is. Is it possible for you to get data to conduct that particular study? Then also you have to look at how manageable that research topic is. Because what you have to understand is that there are certain students, when you look at their topic, you can see that they cannot manage that. It's too broad. So you have to narrow it. So what happens is that once you go through literature, or once you conducting your research, you end up refining your topic. You see that. So you have to make sure that your topic that you even want to the study that you want to conduct, the topic is something that is manageable within the time frame. It's something manageable. And that's what I mean. Then also you should be able to, that's the major one. You have to make sure that the topic that you are setting on is original, it's novel, it's very unique. So that's the major.
I don't know, like, sometimes when we carry out a study and then the question is novelty and the relevance. For example, let's say there are lots of studies on FDI. So how do I know whether this topic is exhausted, like it has been researched enough and there is no contribution I can possibly make? How do we identify like whether a field is a research area is exhausted?
First of all, you want to look at if let's say you're talking about FDI, you have to also you have to restrict your area. So FDI and what? Maybe FDI and economic growth, FDI and this, FDI and that. You get it. Maybe impact of FDI on agricultural growth, impact of FDI on economic growth, impact of FDI. You can even look at it from FDI on economic growth, but in this case, you are going to look at its impact on sectoral growth. Sectoral growth. You understand? Okay. So it means that you are not going to look at its impact on aggregate economy, but the rest, the sectors, the various sectors of the economy. You understand that? And if I do so, you also have to ensure that for FDI to be effectively influence economic growth, there are also other factors, okay, that might influence the FDI. So those variables that you think that as a researcher, you know that they might have influence or ensuring the effectiveness of FDI on those sectors of the economy. You have to make sure that those variables, you can moderate them. Okay, so let's say FDI on economic group, the role of institutional quality, or the role of what? Governance, good governance in this sense. So you are looking at how the rule of law, corruption, and all those ones will moderate, will interact with FDI and have its effects on economic growth. You understand it? Sure. Then you also, in your study, you can also look at, you can first of all look at other factors that might drive FDI. So you can initially look at the impact of FDI, okay? Then also, after you have looked at other factors that drive FDI, you can also model the impact, how FDI also influence the various sectors of the economy. But what you need to, the major thing that you need to do is that all these things need to come from the literature. You have to read your literature and make sure that some of the things that I'm talking about has not already been carried out. If it has been carried out, maybe in your study area it has not been done. Okay, let's say the FDI and this that I'm talking about, it has been done in maybe Australia, but maybe somewhere South Africa or whatever, Ghana or Nigeria, whatever, those areas that study has not been done. So you can look at it, you can just take the same method, by another day you can moderate, you can change it, your other variables, then use different method, okay? Just use different method and conduct with a similar topic, but some variables has been changed. You are also using a new method and conduct that same study in a different country. It's also novel. It means that with respect to that particular area, that issue has not been well discussed. So what you have to understand is that in order for you to identify the novelty of your paper, you have to look at whether there's insufficient studies on that area, on the subject matter that you are talking about, okay? Then you look at, you have to look at whether that particular is very specific, or it's something that you have to look at it from so many perspectives. You have to look at it, this is FDI, there's a lot of studies on it, but I'm going to look at it in terms of methodology. Let's say over the years, these are the methods that has been used to address impact of FDI on a particular variable, okay? So you are going to now use a different method to conduct that similar study, but here, the method is different. So your novelty is coming from your method. Or sometimes you can even combine the method. Maybe we'll get back to talk about methodology, okay? Then you know that in conducting your study, you can even draw your novelty from your usage of the method that you are going to, the approach that you are going to use in analyzing your data or analyzing your empirical model. So those are some of the angles that you can use.
Oh, okay. So, that's very good, Doctor. That's very good. Okay. So, like, if there is something I got out of it, it's when you pick a topic and then you find out that it has been extensively researched, you can try to create a problem like the FDI on economic growth. We found out that a lot of people have researched on it.
Yeah, so you have to ask a different question. The same topic, by ask a different question as to how you can address that same problem. How can you address it in a different way?
Yeah.
You understand?
So then you try to look at maybe FDI on economic growth, the role of maybe a stable economy or political instability, or maybe the role of governance. Then you create.
Or you even look at how you look at the moderation, the interaction between those variables and that's on the growth.
Okay, that's nice, because I know most of the times the main problem is with the topic. You choose a topic, you go to your supervisor, and then he's like, no, this topic is not good. Oh, this topic. I think the most difficult part is getting the topic. Yeah.
But what you have to understand is that once, you see, like the process I told you about how to select the topic, you have to understand that your topic selection mainly considering your interest and how feasible or how manageable, relevant your study, the topic is. The major concern here is that is there a gap in research? Okay, you have to make sure that you have to identify that research gap. If there's no gap, then there's no need for you to even go ahead to conduct that study. So it's not a topic. You see, you can have a topic. What you have to understand, you can have a topic, okay, that a lot of people have conducted a study on. But at the end of the day, your methodology that you are going to use is a novel. Your methodology alone makes the study novel. Look at how a lot of people are using machine learning, okay? Machine learning conducting other studies. So you can be looking at determinants of economic growth, empirical evidence from what? Neural networking or machine learning.
Okay.
That's a novelty. That's the trend now. That's the current trend. You understand? So it's not always, you have to look at it from the method. You can also look at it from the method. You can look at it from insufficient nature of it, or whether the problem is specific or controversial, and you also want to add your voice to it, given your study area. Your study area, you get it. So yes. The topic first, you might settle on the topic because the area that you are interested in is novel. Like there's a problem there, and it has not been well addressed. Then also your topic will become novel, or there will be a gap in you want to fill that gap in literature because that area has not been well addressed. So in this case, you use a different method. The novelty you can have what novel research method, and that method you can also use that with the same topic that you think that maybe that area a lot of people have been working on it, but the method that you are using makes that topic, that's your research novel, makes it unique. Let's look at this. You see, look at this this food. How do you call it? Let me give you this one. Let's say there's let's say, I think most of them, the platform are African. So let me use this one. They will understand. You see the fufu, okay? Yeah. The fufu, some are using cassava and plantain. Some are using yam. Some are using cocoyam. You understand that? So yes. It depends on how the similar thing, but the ingredients you are using.
Okay.
So it's the same topic. You are talking about fufu, but the ingredients you are using is different. You are talking about the same topic, but your method makes your paper novel. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. I think this one clarifies a question that came in during just the session. Someone was asking if an old area, if there is a new methodology, is it okay to apply it and then you have a novelty? So I think this one clarifies it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Doc, thank you so much. I think we should be done with the questions or the research topic.